say 35 behind the scenes mark.
So you're a fan of horror films?
Not at all.
Not fanatical.
I'm not particularly a fan of horror movies.
I wouldn't say that I am.
I don't see them a lot.
I don't know why people like horror films.
It's not really my favorite genre.
It's not a genre that interests me. It did when I was about 18, but it doesn't interest me anymore.
I think I've become more of a fan now, having been a part of this world and really kind of intrigued by the creativity of it.
Not very often do I see horror movies and as an actor say, oh, I would have liked to have been a part of that. When I was young, I think that's mostly what I grew up on. So horror movies are very much an essential part of my cinema experience.
Vampire films have pretty much been around since the beginning of cinema. There have been more films made about vampires than any other movie monster. So the tricky thing is, how do you do something different?
What we were trying to do was take the popular culture understanding of vampires and try and twist it and offer something new and different. I guess one of the things that I'm drawn to is the conflicted hero. I kind of like the idea that that while somebody has noble intentions, they're still full of contradictions. And Ed Dalton, while he strives to find a blood substitute, sort of a way of existing without wiping out the human race, he's continually conflicted by the fact that he works for a company that primarily makes its money off farming human blood.
In 2002, we made a feature film called Undead, and it was something that was basically financed by Michael and myself. We had taken our life savings and invested it into this movie. We were doing TV commercials at the time, and it wasn't really what we were interested in doing. We wanted to make feature films, and nobody was giving us the opportunity to do that. So we thought the only way this is going to happen is if we take our money and put it into a project.
Having seen Undead, I thought, these guys are obsessed and they would be terrific to be around.
They really made this project on not much money at all, but just a lot of passion and dedication.
The Spierig Brothers are working in popular genre, but they're very personal filmmakers. Their first feature was really made by maxing out credit cards and shooting in their backyard and making it however they could. And I felt like these guys aren't careerists. They just feel very deeply about making movies, and this is the language they know best.
Once we had completed Undead, released it.
In particular, the two people we started collaborating with were Peter Block and Jason Constantine.
Right away, the gears were turning of what could we be involved with the Spierig Brothers on their next project. And that's what led to, a casual question at a lunch where we just basically asked, what do you guys think about next?
And we pitched them this idea. It was a 16-page treatment. There was no script at that point, and Lionsgate bought it based on the treatment, and we developed that with them for over 2 years.
Daybreakers is a film that's set about 10 years in the future. It's about a world that's dominated by vampires. There's only about 5% of the human population left. But instead of it being a post-apocalyptic genre picture, it's more a film about vampires accepting their new position in life and trying to go back to their old ways, trying to go back to their old jobs, trying to live life as normally as possible. The problem is they're starting to run out of their food supply, which is human beings.
Those concepts were so captivating that even without knowing what the narrative framework was going to be within that context, it sounded like this was a film we wanted to make.
So we have one slice of the stomach, right? Then we have another one. And then in that close-up, he roars, right? and then drops like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then Frankie takes a slice and his head comes off. Right? And we go. During the process of writing the script, we started doing animatics. It's something we did for our first film. When we shot Undead, it was a $90,000 movie, and by the time we had completed all the post-production, it ended up costing us about $750,000. So it was a very small movie.
And Daybreakers was going to be at least 20, 25 times that budget. So we had to kind of convince people that we could do it.
It's very, very rare when you feel like a filmmaker can go from an under $1 million movie to a budget of the magnitude of Daybreakers.
So we would do detailed 3D animation of key set pieces. It was such a great tool for convincing Lionsgate and also convincing the actors that Michael and I knew what the hell we were doing. We had known Steve Boyle from university.
I was making all these shorts and they were really bad, and all it was basically special effects sequences edited together to try and get some narrative. I met them through my lecturer. He said, there's a couple of guys on campus I'd like you to meet. And he introduced us, and I saw their films, and I thought that they were the best stuff that was being done. And we started doing shorts together.
Steve worked on Undead as the head of makeup effects, and we talked to him very early on about Daybreakers.
Essentially, they said, just think of all the vampire movies with really heavy creature stuff. Okay, they said, now forget it. Forget everything. And because they wanted to do something that focused more on the humanity.
At this stage, we hadn't really defined what they were. We just had a sense that they were these vampires that were deprived of human blood. Because of the blood deprivation, they started to de-evolve back into like a bat-like state.
Steve spent a good 2 years designing and coming up with ideas.
I got a call from Peter and Michael saying that they'd like to meet me. I'd obviously seen their movie a number of times, thought it was very funny. I knew they were working on something new. When I read the script and I saw the animatics, I was absolutely in.
We are on our way to Lionsgate offices for our first script meeting. This is our final week of script editing. Hopefully at the end of it, we have a movie.
The stuff that's in yellow is Ed, with the pink highlights is stuff that also involves Frankie, and the pink stuff is all Frankie.
Audrey tries to convince Ed not to go through with it. It's dangerous. Ed says, well, he has to do it. I mean, the scene is...
Audrey wouldn't necessarily try to convince him not to do it.
Well,
that's why she brought him here in the first place.
And she wouldn't have been exposed to what happened at the hospital, so she won't know the dangers anyway.
Right.
Only Ed would. Like, maybe they talk about somebody else there doing it, and Ed has such guilt from what he experienced before. He's like, I'm the only one. Audrey says we have to get somebody to do this. And like, I'm the only one who can do this. I'm not jeopardizing another person.
That's exactly it. And Audrey has to make the argument, like, if something happens to you, then we have no one.
No, because Frankie's still in the room.
Okay.
He smashes the bottle against the wall, and then he's about to leave. He walks towards the door and says something, turns around and says something to Ed.
Peter and Michael, you know, in one of their trips back to the hotel rooms as they were brainstorming, came back with really, I think, one of the really big breakthrough changes to the screenplay, and that is the creation of the Bromley character. And Bromley, in all the previous early drafts, did not ever exist as a character.
While he, I guess, is the antagonist of our film, I think that you can really understand where he's coming from. If you're faced with death and the only option is immortality, then you can kind of understand his motives. And I think that some people may actually sympathize with his belief system.
I think we finished the script.
I don't think you have, actually.
I think we have.
No, you haven't, because I just got 2 more notes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, for
So have we finished the script?
No. No, we don't finish the script until what? The film's released?
Yeah, I think probably the last day of post-production.
We're supposed to be here for a week and a half. It's been 4 weeks?
4 weeks, yeah.
4 weeks.
Come on. Get the shot. Get the shot, all of us here. Ready? Ready? Well, I'm gonna get everybody here. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
From the beginning, we had a pretty clear idea that we wanted Ethan Hawke for the lead. We thought if we get him, and that's highly unlikely, but if we did, it would kind of set a standard for the rest of the casting.
Generally, when you have a genre movie, when you send a script out to a star, it is a very, very quick pass.
So we're on our way to New York to meet with Ethan Hawke. I'm traveling for 26 hours to have probably like a 45-minute meeting and then get back on the plane and head back home.
What do you think our chances are?
I think our chances are pretty good.
They were very smart. They made it seem quite unique. They'd done all this computer stuff I don't even really understand, but the kind of mock-ups of the modern-day shot list of how you kind of design a movie on a computer. And they sent that to me, and they sent their first movie to me, and they wrote me a very passionate letter, all of which doesn't really mean that much to me. What meant a lot to me was the fact that the script was so good.
Ethan was cast when they proposed the project to me, and that certainly defined it very clearly.
Willem Dafoe was similar to Ethan. He was somebody that we had in mind from the beginning, and again, it was a situation where we thought, there's no way.
Sometimes in a genre movie like this, people are more interested in the effects than the actors. But clearly their choice to cast Ethan showed that they were interested in a certain level of performing in this production.
And they called me out of the blue, and a few days after I'd read the script and talked to me about it, and I couldn't tell which voice was which, but I know now. The thing that made me laugh and made me read the rest of the script was all these vampires in suits lining up to have their Starbucks in the morning with a shot of blood. It seemed to be a ridiculously cool universe.
The majority of our cast are Australians.
Claudia Carvin is an actress who's extremely well known in Australia.
The ideas behind the script, I thought they were really intelligent and you know, very creative and inspiring. You know, usually horror films, they can be just pure escapism, and I thought this film had a kind of a weight and a spirit to it that surprised me.
Vince Colosimo is an actor that Michael and I have liked for a long time. We've been big fans of movies that he's been involved with, like Chopper and Lantana, and the idea of him playing a small but important part in the movie was really exciting.
What we needed from Frankie, Michael Dorman's character, was somebody who you believed could go down a path that is kind of, you know, misguided, but ultimately you sympathise with him. You understand where he's coming from. Isabel has been acting on television for years, and Michael and I weren't very familiar with her, but she came in and auditioned, and she was just the standout.
So now we're off to New Zealand off to Wellington to have a look at what Steve and Richard and the guys at Weta have been building.
We had a fantastic working relationship with Weta in New Zealand, who were so supportive of us in terms of the conceptual work and in terms of, you know, really kind of getting the project off the ground.
I think the part I most enjoy is the design process. I love getting the brief and I love reading the script, and then I just love just playing with ideas, and because at that stage it's not about time or budget or anything like that, you know, it's just what you can think of.
The performances around these creatures are what are going to make these creatures totally believable, because those performances will be so grounded if it follows the script.
I think that's by far my favourite time. It's just sculpting ideas and you know, just playing with them in Photoshop and just delivering different options and seeing what looks right.
I don't like the sort of muscular build up here with the neck.
A bit too superhero.
Yeah. See, that kind of stuff starts to feel like fantasy.
And a suit character.
Yeah. This is really beautiful, but
bizarre. A movie we may make continuous.
Well, we all felt that the deformities that these, you know, people have is brought on by a forced evolution through a sickness. It's not something that they're meant to look like, which is why they have, you know, they're completely drained of blood. They have all these sores breaking all over their body. They start feeding off themselves, so they have all these, you know, vampire bite track marks all off their arms. And, you know, they start to become more emaciated. The feet were more or less normal, but they were ingrown. And then these two are the main, you know, things that smack into the ceiling. And so he swings on those.
And you can get an amazing amount of articulation off those the first two toes.
Absolutely.
That's what you use them to drive the Hobbit feet at times.
Peter and Michael really sold it to me when they said vampires look human because they feed off humans, but what happens if a vampire, desperation, starts feeding off other vampires? You know, that's when we start creating this, you know, horrible kind of inbred sickness. We did so much to their arms, you know, we'd give them these deformed wings. You know, we'd change their backs, we'd protrude their chest, but we'd keep their faces quite subtle so that the actors could read through.
Maybe we don't give him dentures for his bottom jaw. There's something more disturbing because it kind of looks more like a baby, you know, that baby gum.
Imagine with me without teeth.
Yeah.
And he's screaming, you get something really horrible.
Yeah.
The biggest difference between this and Undead, it's got a similar feel to it. Even though it's quite stressful, you can feel that the people doing it are the ones who are passionate about it. Also, we can use these eye bags to glue on his eyelids so that when he opens his eye, it doesn't open up completely. It's probably different for me personally because I'm a lot more confident about how to pull this stuff off. And the other thing is I have a crew now. I didn't have a crew with Undead, it was just me.
Beginning any film, pre-production in any film, is really just, you know, sorting each other out and finding out, making sure that stylistically we're on the same wavelength.
Peter and Michael were very keen for it not to be a gothic vampire movie, that it was based on a reality that the audience would recognize. So the vampire world as it exists in this film is very much like the world we live in now.
This is the side of the near miss and the car crash with Ed and Lucy's car. This area here, just on the corner, there'll be a transformer box, but quite a large one. Camera will be starting tilted down to road level. Chris will create a little bit of traffic. At this stage we'll probably use a double, by the way, to cross the road. So it's the three-hander which would play around the base of the steps here with the tree in the background.
We'll have scattered burning bodies and stuff in here.
So yeah, that would just slide through here, and then you just bounce something off the floor over there as if it was being lit by this source here.
Okay. And that'd be cool too on the heads if there's a little bit more illumination.
Yeah,
moving.
and then it's dark and then light.
Yeah, that's cool. We spent quite a bit of time looking for a cinematographer. While we did have a decent budget, it wasn't going to be huge, and we wanted somebody who could give us kind of a big picture look without all the toys. Ben was somebody who started out in commercials. He went through the same commercial production company Michael and I went through, and he had a similar training.
We discussed the type of movie they wanted to make, and really we just spent some time together. And I think that's a big part of the process, is getting to know the other person and know their particular nuance on the subtleties of what they want. Reveal. And then you can choose to step him into that, and doors close, and that gives you license to go anywhere. The vampire world had the sunshine taken away from it, so we thought that the vamps would replace that big window source. They'd probably replace that with a big light.
We decided quite early in the piece to use a lot of lighting built into the sets. Strips of fluorescent light.
So we designed big panels where a window would have been, or strips of light more than fittings on walls. The vampire world is quite hedonistic. They smoke, they drink, they don't care. So we wanted to give them a world that was fairly devoid of colour. So we chose a cool monochromatic palette, and we're particular about the colour schemes that we built into the sets.
In the human world, it's much more warm in its tones. The colours are much more warm. In the winery, it's sandstone and it's wood. So that the human sort of sanctuary has got the warmth of humanity about it, if you like.
You know, I think every cameraman forms a relationship with a designer that's paramount to the outcome of the film.
George did lots and lots of designs for the picture, whether they were designs for sets or whether they were designs for specific kind of pieces of equipment that people used, or they were designs for the Vampire Army uniforms.
George is such an amazing artist. He's got a kind of classic, retro, future look about his work that's really interesting.
Michael and Peter had very strong ideas of what the film should look like. We spent a lot of time together looking at books, photographs, just suggestions of what the film could look like. Then spent time with concept artists, and we started putting some of these ideas together. We used computers to generate models of the sets, which is, you know, it's a wonderful tool now that we have, that you can build a 3D model of a set and texture it and color it, and it's all in the computer. You don't have to build anything. And the vampire world is cold and grey and black and white. So the costumes and the sets reflect this. And we made the sets quite modern, quite sort of hard-edged, minimalist sort of sets, relying on just blocks of greys and blacks in the colour.
The sets were massive. I'd never really worked in a studio before. You kind of walk in there, you know, the lobby to Bromley's office was so big. You kind of walk in, I was like, you know, I started getting really excited and pumped, and they were just showing me around the sets. The detail, the amount of detail, just even in the way that they, you know, the colours that they've chosen, the painting, the way they painted to get a certain effect and aesthetic, that was really exciting.
We're lucky enough to inherit, you know, basic flattage items from other films, which have saved us a bit of money. The construction team, the scenic artists, and the decoration team here have been fantastic. We've achieved things here that I'm certain would cost us 25% more if we're shooting in Sydney or Melbourne. Well, the costumes were interesting because it's set in the future, but we didn't want anything to look sci-fi futuristic. We decided to try and achieve a sort of non-period film, if you like. So it's a mix of contemporary elements and retro elements. A lot of the vampire world has got a sort of 40s, 50s feel about it. And because everybody's dressed in greys and blacks, it has that kind of period feel. When Ethan saw what we're doing with background extras, you know, he got it immediately, what we're trying to do. And so he was very enthusiastic about getting into that period feel in a way. Willem, the character, he plays Elvis, has a great love for 50s cars. So we wanted to get that element into his costume too. So he wears like a classic white t-shirt and jeans that could be the 50s, could be Marlon Brando in the 50s.
I think about it. I think about whether a movie's going to be successful. I think of what its appeal is going to be. But when you're making it, you really get your hands full, for lack of a better word, problem solving and just doing it.
I have a cure. I can help you. I can change you back, Frankie.
No, I have to get you out of here. They're looking.
Yeah, I can't leave without Lucy.
The girl.
I always just kind of trust that if it works for me, it'll work for other people, but it seldom works out that way.
I know that Ethan's directed movies and written books and scripts, and Claudia's produced a lot of television, and she's a writer, and she's also directed before. So it's great to work with people who understand stories so well.
I think when it first came on, a lot of thought needed to go into anchoring Audrey as a real person and not just a function.
We didn't spend a lot of time running lines. That wasn't what the rehearsal process was. The rehearsal process for us was really just sitting down with the cast and discussing the intention of each scene and how we could make it better.
They were really thorough and, you know, confronting, and I think they were really effective.
We did pretty extensive rewriting that ultimately gave us some great new scenes. Like I know the scene where Claudia cuts her wrist and offers Ethan her blood. I thought that was a wonderful scene that we came up with during our rehearsal process.
I'm a vampire who is having a moral crisis about being a vampire. I think the brothers would tell you it's the Phoenix story. It's you meet a character who is dead and who rises from the ashes. You know, that's really what, at its core, what it's trying to be is how do you go from being the walking dead to an awake and alive human being? Well, a lot of us feel we're the walking dead.
Okay, maybe push tension into one part of your foot. Really push it into the ground. Have an eye line, something that you're looking to go towards. Yep, and the tension's moving back into your neck.
I've really enjoyed the physicality of the role.
The way to look really bitchy is that you have another one in your mouth. No, seriously. See, that's ready to reload, you know? And then you look fucking like a babe.
The process leading up to filming, we had about 2 weeks of stunt training.
Oh, nice shot.
Nice shot.
I've really enjoyed, you know, using the crossbow. Like, I can shoot it, but then to recock it, I can't do it with my hands. I have to drop it down, open it up, get an arrow in. Somehow I've survived 10 years.
How you doing?
How's the stunt training going?
It's good, vigorous.
3, 2, 1.
Action.
Efficient, determined steps. Turn.
3, 2, 1. It's just a 2-man. 3, 2, 1.
Cool.
I don't even have that many scenes where I was physically doing a lot of work, but nearly every day for 2 weeks I was seeing a stunt trainer, and he was awesome and taught me lots of different roles and the stance of how to hold a gun properly and things that I haven't done before. And that was great fun.
Fighting vampires, stabbing them in the neck, and loved all that.
Keep back!
Our initial shooting schedule came in at 55 days, but then a budget squeeze brought us down to 40 days. Shooting a really complex makeup picture in 40 days forces you to prepare really carefully.
When I went around to meet them, they'd done a lot of work.
Extremely thorough, like with everything, every single detail.
The amount of homework that they do before you step on set is, I've never seen that before. Those guys are so prepared. So they kind of come in and they give you these gifts, like, we've done this, and, you know, they're kind of giving it to you on a platter.
Their vision of how the film should have been has really not changed from the first day I actually talked to them.
As soon as it gets onto here, these need to drop, and it'll twist down like that and through there to pierce the windscreen.
Right.
That's actually pretty close to scale.
Right.
But yeah, the distance between the beams may not be. I've only matched the distance of the beams to fit under the car.
Right. During the first week of pre-production, Chris Brown took a trip to Sydney to meet with some investors. And I remember we got this call telling us that he'd been hit by a car.
But the car was completely wrecked and Chris Brown is intact. He lost his conscience for nearly 10 minutes. They took him to the hospital. They really thought that he wasn't going to come out alive. I mean, if you see him, his head is the double of a normal size. This morning they did the last few scans and they said to me, we can't believe that with the impact that he had, is intact. He just came out with a neck injury, that's all.
Right, so the car's been totaled and Chris is all right. Is that right? While the accident was pretty severe, Chris managed to recover really quickly.
So with like two cracked, hairline crack, vertebrae cracks up here.
While he spent certainly the first couple of weeks of production in a wheelchair, Chris made a pretty rapid recovery.
I was like, I hit the ground. I woke up. It's like I came to from hitting the windscreen. Fuck. Yeah, I was like, oh no. I can't believe it.
Not long after Ethan arrived in Australia, we started doing makeup tests. We got teeth made for Ethan, we tested his lenses, and we also tested the white pigment of his skin.
And it didn't go as well as we'd hoped.
Ethan said to us right from the beginning, you know, that the makeup was too intense. He looks like a clown, and he says it's ridiculous.
He hated it, and he was right too. I mean, it looked terrible. I remember standing next to Steve, and we both looked at each other and we were like, oh shit. Before we even started testing skin tones, Steve kept saying, we got to keep this simple. We don't want to go too pale. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
So we made a decision to substantially reduce the whiteness of the skin.
And the funny thing is, when you change someone's eyes, it completely changes their face. It completely changes their expression. By just adding in the eyes and the teeth and dulling the skin ever so slightly, that was all we needed to do for our healthy vampires.
I found the makeup the hardest aspect of this movie. I've never done anything like that where you have prosthetics in your mouth and fake ears. I don't know how people who've played Klingons and stuff like that, I don't know how they did it.
Put this gel all over your entire face.
It's a dental alginate. It's a substance that hardens really quickly. It's what dentists use to take molds of teeth.
And then they put a plaster around your face as well.
All you've got is just your two nostrils, and you're pretty much, you know.
And it's really interesting because it goes really warm and it's very heavy.
I know that when I put that on in all seriousness, I said I was fine. I was shitting myself. I kept thinking, you know, all it would take is for these guys to put just two little fingers over my nostrils. No one's going to hear my screams.
It's so... Ugh.
We sort of used the Weta workshop for the R&D, but then we established at the studio in Queensland just a big workshop, and we hired all our own staff locally.
Been at Weta for 2.5 years. When you work with people, you just kind of get used to what each person does and how long it takes, and you see what some people are really good at, and you see what you're good at, what you're not so good at. And then coming over here and working with a completely different team was just something I was a little bit apprehensive about, but everyone's just excelled.
There's going to be like saliva and stuff in their mouths, and they're going to be weeping. I was thinking about putting vomit on their shirts. I don't know, but
you're a sick puppy.
It really goes to show you though, like, depending on the angle you photograph it, how different it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? I think that guy needs to be, that's the angle. That's
well, see, the thing is, you can see the bite marks better there as well.
Yeah.
He's on his way being shipped here. These two are having their hair work this week, and then they get shipped here. And then we do the other hero cabin victims here, which would be Mungo.
It's a big head.
I was just going to say, it feels very salubrious.
There you are.
When we came over here, I had some guys that I'd worked with before that I wanted in the workshop. Kim Saintsbury, our on-set supervisor, had a few people that she'd worked with before, and we just got everyone together, and it worked really, really well.
All right, so tell us, what do we got here?
We've got a back. We've got a big splurt out of the back.
Oh, yeah.
We've got left jugular, right jugular, and 2 arm squirts.
Is your mum going to be happy with this?
She's seen it all before.
Don't you hate it when they learn it?
Then we can do it.
Even if we just, if that's something
Yeah, this will be representative of the stomach slash.
Right.
So tell me about this stuff and how it stains clothing. Because it's kind of relevant now.
There was something around 250 pairs of teeth and a similar amount of contact lenses. We had a local company here led by Rob and Jack Charlton making all the teeth for us. We'd start off with like little subtle teeth that they could have their dialogue with.
How do they look?
Amazing. Yeah. When I first stuck the ring out, it was very hot, and I was kind of like, you know, his mouth is in my mouth. So I was going to try talking like this.
It's really, really fun for like 3 days. You know, you take a picture and you're like excited about it, and then you want to get those weird things out of your mouth.
Then as they got sick, you know, we'd go to what we call the strike teeth, which are just slightly longer and a bit more aggressive.
When you have a foreign object in your mouth and then you're trying to deliver it kind of dialogue.
Then when they became the subsiders, that's when they became these horrible, you know, teeth falling out, rotted, all that sort of thing. You know, once someone was cast, we'd get their eyes tested, and you know, I designed the lenses of what I wanted the lenses to look like in different stages, depending on the sickness that we see them in. So we'd have, you know, 3 different stages of vampire to sick vampire, and then we'd have the 4th stage, which is what we call the subsider eyes, and that's when they become, you know, really bloodshot and have like little pustules and are really, you know, sick looking. The hard part about this, though, is in most vampire movies, like, they look human, then when they're angry, that's when you see them with these contact lenses and their teeth, you know, when they reveal their monster side. We start with that, and then we take it on to levels beyond that.
When I first put the contact lenses in, my eyes were like acid burning, and you know, and I mean, I'm not. Everyone was telling me to man up, and that's fair enough. And I remember calling up the guys and saying, "Look, you know, this thing's burning my eye, man." You know, and he said, "Just wear it in a couple of days." The very next day, fine.
So constantly wearing these lenses, and at first I thought it was going to be too much. I thought that people would just be put off by the fact that they've always got these bright yellow, intense lenses.
I think the fact that we did test the makeup extensively before we started shooting, I think that really did save us on any sort of surprises with overdoing the vampire makeup.
When you see this whole world of people, you really believe it.
Three, two, one. All right, and Brendan.
So Brian, you'll come in and you'll start licking the wall here.
Because just be aware, if it's an insert hand, this hand is going to have to be lower in order to keep his balance. So we're going to be here like this.
Yeah. To set up the knives, right? I mean, I could be reaching over here, and as he gets hit, that's when the wind go. Yeah.
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
little
yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
Like. So I start reaching for the knife.
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Did we just wreck that?
This hole in the set, George, was it was Ethan. He did it.
He'll hit this wall and then he's going to headbutt a glass table. Table will smash.
Ed picks up this, and then we did the move where he's sort of pushing him back and gets himself to here.
Can I make a suggestion that we rotate this just a touch?
Yeah,
so that Ethan's coverage is not into that wall, that we get it more down this way?
Yeah, great. So when he's coming around, I'll just spin around and so we're both over here. Oh shit.
Frankie stands up. Clears the table.
Alright, I'm going to clear that table.
And then the subside is going to flip up and clamp its feet up into there. And then this whole fight sequence is going to take place in this space here.
When you do the first flip up, yes, it's nothing. The wires and everything are symmetrical. They're really symmetrical. What you've got to do is be asymmetrical. Yes. And go, Brandon.
Brandon.
Slicing and dicing.
Yeah, slicing.
Go. There.
Yeah.
And then chop.
Yep.
And then drop.
Chop and drop.
Once the cast got attached, and you have the caliber of people that we have on this, you know, you don't want to screw it up.
Oh, do that. Sick of it. Go to your room. Scene 120. Day 27, we're in Bromley's office. We start with Bromley in the chair, gagged, doing some kind of movement, whatever. We then remove him. We replace him with the blood-filled Bromley dummy, and we give him action, and we end up with the dismembered body and all that sort of stuff in the end frame. We then lock off that end frame and we close the doors. In an ideal world, this all works in take one and we walk away. Unlikely. So we're going to assume that there's a clean-up, a reset, while we go into Bromley's office and start some stuff with him, and then come back again when the reset's done and have another crack at it.
Who we got here? Eccleston on the ball. Mark Wickham's trying for a leg. He's got the gut. Someone's got a leg. Who's got it? Who's got it? Eccleston here. He's on the ball. He's on the head. There he goes. Will he score? Will he score? Oh!
I really enjoyed the first day. The first stuff that we shot, even though I was so nervous, was with Ethan, and it's kind of in the house, and I got to, you know, play with Ethan. That came out wrong.
I got you, son. What's that?
The idea of a world where everyone is a vampire and the desire to not be a vampire.
Go and hunt humans down and deliver them to the blood farm so that they can be milked of blood.
Frankie is a little misled, looking towards role models which are kind of pushing him in a direction which I don't think he really understands. Nothing like me, at all.
Pull it out. I'm gonna look at him, I'm gonna look at him.
Oh, beautiful.
And then you get your bag.
And then I look at him again, and then I'm grabbing my bag.
It's day 40, we're done. I can go home. It's day 2, and things are going well. We're about to set up for a stunt. That will be our first stunt of the film.
3, 2, 1.
First day went really well. We did a heavy dialogue scene between Ethan and Michael, and they did a great job.
You know what was really fun? Was little things like falling through the breakaway glass table. Action! I'd never done anything like that before, so for some reason that really excited me.
Hold it. And action!
My hope for the film is that that it's fun and that it's exciting and people have a good time. But I also hope that it's different and unique.
You know, this movie is largely about ideas. That's what's going to make this movie work or not work.
I love the fact that the world turned everything on its head, and the fact that the vampires were the people who sort of got out, and the humans were the creatures that were hiding in the dark.
Vampires need human blood. If they don't get human blood, they start to de-evolve into a kind of bat-like feral state, which can be exacerbated if you either feed off other vampires or yourself. That accelerates the process alarmingly.
The biggest makeup was on a creature that we just all call the kitchen subsider.
A subsider is basically a vampire who's become blood deprived.
Well, we're just about to do Brian's makeup. Brian Probert's is playing a kitchen subsider.
It's a big night.
Yeah?
Big night. Looking forward to it, though.
It'll be a nice 48-hour stretch for us.
It's come at last.
We have a long night ahead of us, but it's very exciting. Hello.
Good morning. Time for a swim. Goodness.
Okay.
That makeup application took about 10.5 hours. He was completely glued into that. It wasn't just like a zip up the back. He was, you know, really glued in there, and he had these big kind of wings on and contact lenses, teeth. He was completely covered. The only thing that wasn't covered were his heels and the insides of his ears. It was a massive day just prepping the pieces. It was like a 12-hour day. We had a quick break, then we started a 10.5-hour makeup application, and then we had to go on set for 12 hours. And it's just, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
I think, wow, 10.5 hours. It seems like such a long time, but when you're doing the makeup, it just goes by so quickly. You know, you start, next thing you know, 3 hours have gone, and then the sun's starting to come up. That's when you really know you're running out of time. And next thing you know, you've got the AD knocking on your door. Hi. And it just goes so quickly.
And that's why you shouldn't smoke. Boys and girls.
Yeah, lean out. And Adam, if you can watch his lean and try and match that. I'll say hand up. So that's Brian, you're lifting your hand up a little bit, guys. You're scratching. And then I'll say hand down, we'll do the scratch down. And then once the hand's gone out of frame, I'll say Brian, light. And then he'll lift the light.
How many scratches, boss?
Just one.
One scratch.
One big scratch going down.
So to see the amount of work in the subsider, and then we've got blood rigs, and I'm slashing with a knife, and then there's gashes, and there's blood spraying out, and anything with those rigs was always really fun.
And cut! So you're covered in glue, covered in prosthetic. When did you start getting made up?
Well, I got made up about 12 hours ago.
12 hours ago? Well, that's a long night, isn't it?
Yeah, 10:15.
So you're in the prosthetic for about 19 hours?
I work.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Suck shit. And Ethan.
When we're designing the special effects sequences, I'm heavily involved in that. As well as that, whenever I deliver a makeup, I know that it's going to be shot the way that it should be shot.
Drop.
They were doing this stuff as well a long time ago, so they know the process and how long it takes and what the weaknesses of this stuff is and what you need to hide and what you can exploit.
Don't be afraid, Harry. There you go.
And if they don't, I tell them.
Here we go.
You suck. Right, do it again. No. No. So close. That's almost perfect. That's a winner, that's a winner. Hold it there, don't move, don't move, don't move.
Simple and straightforward, my role. And of course the challenge there is not to make it hard, which is what we always do, and we have something that's easy as we somehow trip it up.
We're doing the opening of the movie. This is probably the most busy part of the centre of Brisbane. And this scene is where Ed arrives at work at the Vampire Corporation, which is the Bromley Marks Corporation, which is this vast building here, which was one of the first locations that Peter and Michael told me that they wanted to use in the movie. And I was convinced I could talk them out of it, actually, because this is the worst location you could possibly shoot at. And I hate this building, and it's cost us a fortune, and I really hope it comes out well in the film. It's been an absolute ballbuster.
Mate, it's been pretty hectic, man. We're getting the girls coming here, trying to sit in Ethan's chair and, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's quite entertaining, quite entertaining.
Get a bigger lift, okay?
When you hear about Joel and Ethan Coen, or the brothers who directed the Matrix movies, I always imagined that one was really the director and the other was like a co-writer.
I've worked with two directors before, and I think usually the case is that one takes care of one aspect of the production and one takes care of another aspect of the production. That's just kind of the natural thing that happens. They go towards their strengths. And I could probably start to discern different strengths between the two, but they really switch between each other.
They're both the director. And it can be really confusing because, you know, I remember my first day, one of them came up to me and said, you know, I loved it when you kind of touched your ear, and because I have this, you know, he's like, that was great. And then the other one comes up to me and goes, don't touch your ear, I didn't like that.
I think sometimes if you've just got one director, because you're discussing quite challenging things and, you know, and collaborating on a creative level, sometimes you can be, you know, you want to be sensitive around the director and their ideas, but because there's two of them, you can be quite hard because you knew the other one would look after him.
Directors, they can't help it. They make you feel like there's a right way and a wrong way, and their way is the right way. But when you're being directed by two people, you realize there is no right and wrong way. There's just preference.
A lot of the images really jumped out at me. It was so layered, and things like the vampire teenagers sitting at the bus stop. You know, they still look 6 or 8, but they're there smoking and reading the newspaper.
This is Ethan Hawke's entrance into the movie here.
They supply a level of escapism that some films don't. And they've got limitless potential. If you create an imaginary world, you can go anywhere you like.
Aside from the vampire makeups, there's a character called Elvis, played by Willem Dafoe. He used to be a vampire. He was severely burnt. So we did burns all over his neck and going over to his face and covering his forehead, and all up his arms as well. That was handled every day by Samantha Little. That was about an hour and a half to 2 hour application every day. It was a real challenge in makeup to do because everyone was saying they didn't want it to look too, you know, Fred Krueger-ish. They want it to be subtle. It's Willem Dafoe, so it's got to look like Willem Dafoe. We can't, you know, hide his face with rubber. If you want to believe this character was in a lot of pain, you can see it. But if you want to forget about it, it's subtle enough that you just look through it.
The first design of Willem's gun was this beautifully engineered multi-fire crossbow that was so clever in its design, yet it was also huge. It was like the size of a cannon. And we were literally a day out from shooting Willem's first scene, and this kind of wash of panic hit us where we thought, we're gonna have to shoot this thing tomorrow. So we literally got out the grinder and started chopping this thing apart. Yeah, I think we should stick the wheel on the back. The shotgun crossbow that you actually see in the film was something that was designed and finished the night before we started shooting with it.
I guess one thing about horror is the events are so extreme that the language of it can be very flexible, and you can really play with it. So there can be a lot of invention without worrying so much about self-conscious hardiness.
Because this will be the look for the whole last, 5 minutes.
Today we start the lobby sequence, which is kind of the end battle in the movie. We're about to crash Elvis's Trans Am into the lobby. Should be interesting. It's a one-take deal.
This is a snatching strap. It'll arrest the car without jerking the back out of it. It's got about 20% stretch in in the rope.
So it's going to smash the front part of this and hopefully take everything with it.
The floor in there is a bit slippery, and we can't guarantee that the brakes and the tyres are going to work correctly on the car. So we put this in so we don't go through the back of the wall.
This is how we got the car. It's all beautiful and shiny, but it's all smoke and mirrors because this is what we can do. It's the road.
Serious rust.
I might get you to walk away from all that area as well. And Matt, you're going to hide around the corner. Yep. And Greg, so you'll stop all that activity out there as well.
Okay, let's do it.
In fact, it's essential.
More obligation you have to appeal to the lowest common denominator, as my grandfather would call it. The less money, the more ability you have to tell a personal story or to be more courageous in your storytelling.
I got an email sent to me today from the Bond company saying that Michael and I are basically in breach of contract because we're taking too long to shoot, apparently. And if we don't rectify the problem immediately, all our fees are going to be frozen.
Every department will tell you the schedule on this, which is crazy. And we just managed to get things through on a daily basis. You know, taking things on set and the paint was still wet, and just, you know, just to the last little minute, you know, would be just delivering stuff.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we now need to clear all the gear and stuff from in front of the cabin.
Man, I got the giggles on this film, like, so badly.
The car was rocking and we're travelling along, and Willem said it's like a bear is fucking the car.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
I'm having trouble with it myself.
It's what? It's like a bear is fucking the car.
I'm so glad that was you. I'm really over it now.
Okay.
And then Ethan found the walkie-talkie that was inside the car, and it's called Bearcom.
Very much I like the trio of Ethan, Claudia, and myself doing scenes together. It seemed like it was a good balance.
I'd like to smack people with it. Yeah.
I'd much rather make this movie in our little independent way here than make it for more money and have better effects, but have the ideas stripped and dumbed down.
Thinking back on all the fond memories of the shoot, the one that comes to mind the most is the Shigella outbreak. Being out on set at the cabin location, and Michael's directing, we're setting up the first shot, and I look over at him, and he is whiter than normal, and just did not look good. And he's just like, I'll be right back, and he off into the bushes, spewing away. At that point, we didn't know what it was. There was a couple other people that had similar symptoms, and we thought, oh, there's a little bit of a bug going around on set. But it was pretty fierce, and as soon as Michael was hit by it, we immediately got a doctor out on set. The diagnosis comes back, and it is Shigella, a bacterial disease that causes severe dysentery, which is passed very easily through sort of shared toilet facilities, or even utensils like at the catering table. And in third world countries, it's apparently the cause of death of hundreds of thousands of people a year.
Isn't it 1 in 5 people at the moment is sick or something horrendous?
So immediately, as soon as the diagnosis comes through, the Australian Health Department are notified. They're lined up to come down and shut.
Logistical parameters, and making a movie is always about the creative meeting the budgetary, meeting the logistical.
Sometimes in a popular genre like this, you have a production that can be very soulless because the people don't have a personal stake in it. The other end is you have a production that's so personal that it's a little obtuse and is too abstract for a lot of people to be entertained by. I always get self-conscious as an actor being a cheerleader for something I'm involved in. But this one clearly has the ability to hopefully walk that line, be a personal, popular movie.
All the actors did such a good job, and the crew, everyone's been really great. I think we've got a really good film. I hope. It'll be a little bit sad to wrap and not to come, back to work with all these guys again on Monday. We move on to post, which should be really exciting.
Shall I let you in?
Yes.
Welcome. We got 9 weeks left to deliver this picture.
We set up a post-production facility in Brisbane. Basically what that meant is we rented an apartment where we would put in all of our editing gear. Our editor Matt Villa would work out of there along with the assistant editor and the visual effects editor. And Michael and I also set up our own computer workstations where we would do visual effects.
Look at that. That's a view for you right there.
So in the morning we'd sit down with Matt and look at the edit.
We're at the end of our first pass through, and I think we're going to have a review on Friday and see how the rhythm of the film's coming along. And then I think we're going to be in pretty good shape and just watch things evolve as the visual effects come in.
And then Michael and I would go away for 6 hours or so and do a whole bunch of visual effects. And then we'd regroup with Matt later in the day and look at what he's done and discuss that further.
This is high-tech filmmaking. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yep, that's it.
We essentially had 3 companies doing the visual effects, or 2.5 if you consider Michael and I as a company. We had one company in Brisbane called Kanuka, who did a lot of the particle disintegrations.
So that included Lisa's opening suicide scene, Elvis's miraculous escape from death as his car crashes. What I'm looking to show you with this is for size and timing reference primarily. This is the 32% more flame than last time. So a lot more detail and with getting things like wrapping the flame around his arm.
To use drums. They're going, not all the time, but quite a lot of the time. And they're sort of boom, boom. We set up this entire room with enough percussion for 36 players, and then overdubbed the various instruments until we have this massive sound. And then a third thread we had was what I've always thought of as being the drug haze of the vampires, the sort of condition of being a vampire. You hear this in the opening credits in particular, and the choir in particular was related to this sound. It's very hazy, it's hard to define quite what's going on. The orchestra is smaller in the earlier parts and then grows and gets larger and larger, so that by the time we're in the last 20 minutes or so of the film, we have a huge orchestra with the choir and with the percussion and other elements all sort of woven in there.
One of the final elements to post-production is a process called the digital intermediate, which includes a colour timing of the movie. We take the original image and grade it to the look we always intended to have. All the colours can be manipulated, and in particular we focused on the eyes, making sure that the yellow contact lens is registered. While we were colour grading the movie, we would bring our computers into the theatre, and there'd be some shots that we'd look at and say, gee, we'd like to add another visual effect or change something around, and we'd literally pull the shot out of the grading suite, put it into the computer, and by the end of the day we'd have another completed visual effect. So we're working on effects literally until the very last minute. Our post schedule was really tight. We had a very short sound mix, so we were kind of racing to get all that done, and it's a complex sound movie.
Most of us have been on the run together for years. I've never...
We're about to get on a plane and go to the Toronto Film Festival for our first public screening of the movie. It's screening in the Midnight Madness section on Friday night, so I think it'll be a good screening.
We're back with Daybreakers. Peter and Michael Spierig.
This is our first public screening of the movie ever. So you guys are the first people to see it.
You guys are helping us kind of bring up Midnight Madness with some incredible talent. Who is with us tonight aside from your yourselves?
Well, we have our new videographer. His name is Willem Dafoe. Willem's actually pirating the movie on the Woodland Line tomorrow. And the other fantastic actor that we have here tonight,
I think he's pulling cables tonight. I think he's Willem's assistant. is Mr. Sam Neill.
Unfortunately, Willem has to jet out to go back to...
I think we all need to make him stay. What are we going to do to make Willem stay?
I told you that this would be a very different audience than Antichrist, didn't I?
It's the same people.
Thank you very much. The world premiere of Daybreakers.
Enjoy the film, guys.
We introduce to you the directors of Daybreakers, Peter and Michael Spierig. And for one of the most fabulous beheadings in horror film history, Sam Neill! I thought we'd have you back here at Midnight Madness a lot sooner than 5 years.
It took a long, I mean, this is still an independent film, and independent films take a very long time to sort of get financing and so on. I'll give you a comparison for, what Undead cost. The budget was ultimately $1 million, but it actually cost $100,000 to make, and then people worked on deferrals. But anyway, it was $100,000. The contact lens budget on Daybreakers is more than that.
Sam, what was it like working for brothers?
People who can create and sustain a dystopic world like the Spierig Brothers, people like David Cronenberg or George Miller or John Carpenter, these sort of people, usually are the nicest, sweetest, kindest people you could meet. At least that's the way they seem. It's a thin veneer.
Is the film a giant metaphor for Australian-New Zealand relations? Was it always a plan to make it an American set film?
Yes, it was, because we had a certain budget, and if you make a film like this for the budget that we had in Australia, your audience is incredibly limited. So you want to appeal to a worldwide audience, and the way you do that is you make people sound like they're Americans. It's just the way it is. Australians don't want to go see Australian films. It's true.
Does that sound familiar now? Was that what you kind of envisioned, that you would get those three great leads?
Well, no. I mean, I tell you, I say no because we had this ridiculous wish list. And it involved Ethan Hawke, and it involved Sam Neill, and it involved Willem Dafoe, and it involved our great Australian cast, and you write it just thinking, there's no way, that's not going to happen. We made this little silly zombie movie, no one's going to be interested. And so Ethan read it, and he told me at the end of the shooting that after reading 5 pages, he knew he was going to get on a plane and come to Australia. So it's great when that kind of stuff happens. It does actually happen. You can write a script and get actors of this quality.
I looked at the script, and on page 2, there was a guy in a business suit getting a double shot of blood with his Starbucks. I thought, that's fantastic. I'll do that film. And by the way, I wasn't playing American, I was Canadian.
I just want to thank Colin and the team at TIFF for their incredible support of this film, and they've been incredibly supportive of Michael and I from the beginning, and we're really appreciative, and we just love coming here, and we love screening our movies for you guys, so thank you so much.